My wife left me because I was racist to her and I can't get her to come back. Can I recover from my mistake? Ooh, I don't know. Let's see how racist this is, okay? Not that any sort of racism is okay, but I gotta hear it in the context. I sincerely feel our problem started on Reddit, so I feel it's only right to come back here to see if you can help me solve the mess we made. So a few years ago, my wife came to Reddit for advice navigating a culture clash. You can read her original post here. Do I have to read her original post? Shoot, I do, huh? Okay, I can't even find the original one. I tried. In retrospect, the responses she got were awful, rude, and many racist. My wife is from Zimbabwe. I'm Swiss, and we met while at university in my country. I fell for her instantly. Truthfully, I've never seen anyone so beautiful. She was kind, so incredibly intelligent, and has this gravitational pull to her. We started off as friends, but we eventually began dating and got into a steady relationship. I wanted to marry straight away, but she had career ambitions she wanted to meet before she married. At the time of the Reddit post, I was going through some stuff. I knew the expectation of Rura, Roora, was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside her engagement ring for years. Okay, I think that's like a cultural thing. Let me check it out. Rura is a Shona word that refers to the bride price or bride wealth paid in Southern African marriage ceremonies. Okay, kind of like a dowry. Okay, so he has to pay this on top of the wedding stuff. Okay. I was going through some stuff. In truth, I knew the expectation of Rura was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside with her engagement ring for years. I had gotten into a fight with my brother before she asked me about setting a date for her Rura, where he said many nasty things about me being with a black woman and how I was losing myself and my cultural identity due to the concessions I made to be with my wife. It's why I reacted the way I did when she asked me about it, something I deeply regret to this day. After the show that was that post, we spent 3 months in couples counseling. She repeatedly told me that she didn't want to force me to do anything I didn't want to do. She said that she deserved to be with someone who enthusiastically embraced all parts of her, and if any part of me took issue with her culture, she asked that I bow out before I tied us together for life. I confessed that I knew all along about the Rura and I had prepared for it, but the conversations with my brother are what led me to say what I did. She was mad. I had allowed her to be mocked, ridiculed, and bullied by strangers online because I couldn't communicate with her, but we worked through. We had a beautiful traditional wedding in her country, then another one with my traditions in mind. Her family was kind and welcoming, making many concessions for me as they had done since I met them. We planned on starting a family soon after we married, but she'd always said that she wanted to have her babies back in her country so she can have her family around her. We had agreed that this is what we do. It's important to note that my wife doesn't really like living here. She says she hates living here. We lived in Sweden for much of our relationship, and many will know that people are on the cold side. She hated the food, the weather, struggled with the cold people. Her country's people are very warm and friendly, and for the last 2 years, she had to go on antidepressants because it was all a bit much for her. She asked me when we were going to move, and I asked for us to hang for a while so I could finish a project I'm leading at work. We'd fought about this in the past, but this time she just nodded at me, so I thought she finally got it. That was over 18 months ago, and we didn't end up moving as I got promoted and it became harder to walk away. Her grandma passed away, so I attributed the low mood to that. Our problems came when she asked me if I was having an affair with my colleague. This is when I got home late one evening and found her sitting in the dark. I'd forgotten she was making dinner for us, to be honest. I had a lot going on at work and it just slipped my mind. I told her that colleague and I were working late and I forgot. Sorry. She grew confrontational and told me I was spending a lot of time with my colleague lately, and she noticed her name on my phone more than a few times. She asked me if there was anything she ought to know. This is when I may have killed my marriage. I told her I didn't give her father a truck full of cattle for her to question me. No, you didn't. 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 This was my house, my wife, and if I wanted to have something on the side, that was nobody's business but mine. She looked like I'd slapped her, and I could see her holding back tears. I don't know why I didn't drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. Instead, doubled down and told her to stop the theatrics. Here's the thing. I'm not having an affair of any kind with my colleague. We're really just heavily into this project we're both super excited about. I don't know why I just couldn't say that to my wife. She didn't come to bed that night, and I left early in the morning, the day after she came home when she was asleep. This continued for days where I avoided her because I couldn't face the guilt. On a Friday, I came home to a gift box that contained a positive pregnancy test and a long letter from my wife. I won't share all of it, but she said she was going to tell me on the night I bailed on dinner that I had hurt her beyond measure with what I said to her and that she was no longer going to show her love for me through self-sacrifice. Oh my God, this made it even 100 times worse than it already was, and it's pretty bad. She told me she doesn't consent to be in a polygamous relationship, and since it's what I want, I should expect to receive divorce papers from her soon. She left her rings and house keys too. I had a panic attack. I was able to call for help before the worst of it came, but I spiraled. I had momentarily locked up and lost my wife and unborn child because of it. I tried to call her, but her phone was going straight to voicemail. I called her brother, who was short with me, but assured me she was fine. He wouldn't tell me more. I finally tracked her down after 2 weeks. She'd gone back to her parents in Zimbabwe. I can't follow her just yet because the project I've worked on for so long is near completion and I can't walk away. My friends told me I was racist to my wife and my actions because I never would have tried that with a white woman and tried to use her culture against her. The fact that I wasn't even serious made me more cruel apparently. She still won't speak to me. I've tried all avenues and she won't hear me out. I left her beyond measure and I don't know how to get her back. Please help me. So he does have a small edit, so I'll read that first before I berate this man. Okay, a lot of you think I'm awful. It's hard to reach, but oh well. I've taken your advice on board and I'm going to follow her. I have booked a flight to Zimbabwe. I leave in 10 days. I'm going to go apologize and try to make her understand. No one seems to be thinking of the child she's carrying, my child, when they say I should leave her alone. I won't do that. It's sad that I've missed out on the joy of finding out we're finally having a baby we've so wanted, but I'm going to go and fix this so I can get my wife back and our family on track. Your wife didn't leave you because you're a racist, even though you were. Your wife left you because you were a neglectful workaholic that told her you could sleep with whoever you wanted. Mocking her culture was simply a cherry on top. Imagine. See, I'm bad. If someone said I didn't pay your father, especially in cattle, to question me, I would have been swinging. As bad as that is. And the thing is, right? People say bad stuff when they're heated. I get that, right? But there's this unwritten rule. You just don't do. You can't go under the belt. And it's not even like there's different things where when I get into arguments, I'll say things that are true, but it hurts the other person. It's a dig at them. But this man intentionally went to say things to hurt her, saying, "I bought you with cattle from your father. Don't you dare try to tell me who I can and can't sleep with." This is my favorite. This is my favorite comment. It says, "Am I the asshole because I," and then continues to list 1,001 war crimes. I want to find the wife's post. What was it for? Let me see if I can find it. Okay, you guys, I found the wife's first post, okay? Okay, you guys, I found the wife's first post, okay? And it's, "Am I the asshole for asking my fiance to pay a bride price? My fiance, 32 male, is white, European man. I, 31 female, am a black African woman. We've been dating for 7 years. I came to his country to study and have lived and worked here since. Ever since we started dating, he took such an interest in my culture, asked me to teach him my language, culture, and we've even been to visit a few times. He asked me to marry him last year and I accepted. We were planning our wedding. I mentioned we need to account for my family back home. We could have the traditional wedding in my home country and then the white wedding in his, since we don't want to ask anyone to fly out or get visas, etc. The issue came when I mentioned a bride price needing to be paid, something he scoffed at. To call it a bride price is misleading because there is so much more to it than the money that changes hands. It's our time-honored tradition that blends two families into one, and it's always something I wanted to do when you got married. I mentioned he knew of marriage customs in my country and that they included a bride price. We both work in law and human rights type of field, so he assumed I would be against the bride price. I told him I am against it being a forced and money-making thing, but I'm asking that he does it because I chose it and I want to honor my parents and culture. He refused, saying it was backwards and exonerate, and it would be like he bought me. I assured him it wasn't the case. My parents would charge a symbolic amount, nothing crazy, just to symbolize us getting together. I said if my parents were to sell me, he couldn't afford me. This set him off in a rage because I somehow insulted him by saying that, when what I meant is that my parents aren't looking to make money off me. But this is something my people have done for a millennia and I don't want to break from tradition. I said I don't know if I'm willing to go ahead and marry him if he isn't willing to make the trip to my country and talk to my parents about the Labola process. I hope I said that right. Labola? It's L-O-B-O-L-A. Labola. He says I'm forcing and manipulating him. I'm not. He knew from day one who I was and where I came from. This is what my people do, and I feel for him to label it backwards as Eurocentric because he's viewing it from his lens, despite me having explained what it is actually about. Okay. These comments are wild, though. So, yeah, I get that because white people don't do this. European people don't do this, right? Most other countries, we have, it's not, bride price just sounds so bad. You're not literally saying, hey, give me this money for a bride. It's just like a symbolic thing. Like, okay, you need to prove, it's for us, especially in like African culture, it's like to prove that you can take care of her financially, whether it be cattle or a money set amount. And usually that, like for us, like the money that you give goes back to the bride, as in like you'll give the bride money, like, okay, here's the $5,000, but the family will go and buy things for the new house that you guys are going to move into, like ironing boards and like clothes and like sofas and things like that. It goes back into your marriage. So it's just like I get that. But these comments are ruthless. I can see it. You guys can go ahead and look at it. I'll give you guys the title again. So it's, am I the asshole for asking my fiance to pay a bride price? But man, now I see what happened. I get it. Oh my God, this sucks.
Am I in the wrong for telling my friend to stop mentioning pictures my wife posts? I've got a friend who the last couple of years has turned a bit tatey. He's been wronged by a couple of women in the past couple of years. One left him and got married within 3 months. The other stole a lot of his money. But he seems to have a particular dislike for women selling content or just generally being confident in how they look. That point brings me on to my wife. She's 39 and we've been together since school. She's a very fit and attractive woman and her main hobby is pole dancing. She loves it and has been doing it for years. She's really good and she loves it so much. It's great to see her really excelling at something and being so passionate about it. She posts a lot of pictures and videos of herself pole dancing on accounts that only her friends can follow, so it's not like she does this for attention. Even though I've told her if she ever wanted to, I wouldn't mind, as a few of her friends have quite big followings, and sometimes when they do shows, my wife is in the photos and videos and gets a lot of positive comments. Over the weekend, I went to my friends to help him with some DIY, and he asked me if I mind my wife posting what she posts. I said not at all, it doesn't bother me. He then said, "You're part of the problem. Women are getting too much ego and it's bad enough when it's single women, but married women shouldn't be doing that." I told him that if he's bothered by it, then don't look and unfollow her. He said that he won't change anything and it's the culture being created around women getting validation for their bodies or some shit like that. I got a bit wound up at this point and asked him if he'd like me to ring my wife and tell her himself. He said no, he was just talking to me man to man and I need to grow a backbone. I told him that I'm not the one with a backbone problem. If he can't handle a bit of flesh and gets offended by it, then he's the weak one. I ended up leaving and a few mutual friends have said while I was right, he's going through a hard time and is a bit vulnerable to this way of thinking. I personally think that's BS and we need to tell him that he's heading down the wrong path. Me and my friend are both 41 by the way, I forgot to mention that. So was I in the wrong?